My husband, 52 male, asked me to flash some roadworkers. I did, and then he got mad and pushed me out of the car next to them. How do we move on from this? I am 32 female, and we've been together for 10 years, married for 6. The last 2 or 3 years he's started to show less and less interest in me. He does subscribe to a couple of OnlyFans accounts, which I'm not bothered about as it's no different to P*RN, so I know he still has S*Zool urges. I've tried talking to him a couple of times about this and told him I'm getting bored and frustrated, and he knows I'm willing to try anything S*Zool, so if there's anything he wants to do to get him motivated, I'll try it. He just says, duly noted, and carries on with his day, which is frustrating. A few nights ago, we had friends round for tea, and we got onto the subject of commutes and road works, with them saying how their commute has more than doubled due to a road they use having roadworks. Carol, the wife of the couple, then says, "We've found a way to make it more entertaining though, haven't we?" to her husband, and they both started laughing. She then tells us that the roadworks are about 3 miles long with the groups of workers spread out to maybe 7 or 8 groups, and they are normally going 10 to 15 miles per hour, so when they get near one of the groups he beeps, and she flashes them and they all cheer. I couldn't believe it as they seem so straight-laced. That night when they left, my husband was saying how brave it is of them and that we should do it the next morning. I asked if he's sure. This is a man who didn't like when I posted a bikini pic on Facebook, and he said yes. We even had S*X that night for the first time in months, and he initiated for the first time in years. The next morning we were both off work, and as soon as he woke up he mentioned me flashing. I asked if he's sure, and it wasn't just H*RNY talk, and what if the men don't want to be flashed? He said he's sure and all men want to be flashed. We drive to the road, and we see a group of workmen, and my husband gets all giddy and says, "Are you ready?" I say yes, and he says no, and beeps his horn, and I lift my top up, and they all cheer. We are going about 10 miles per hour when suddenly he slams his brakes on and tells me to get out. I was in shock. His face is red with anger, and he's shouting, "Get out, you fucking slag." I start crying, and he's leaning over me opening my car door, and then takes off my seatbelt and starts pushing me out. The cars behind are beeping as he's stopped traffic, and he's yelling at the top of his voice. By now the workers have heard the commotion, and 2 of them are rushing over to help. I turn to look at them, and he pushes me really hard, and the top half of my body falls out the car, and I put my hands down. One of the workers is screaming at my husband and starts trying to open his door. The other worker is by me and quickly drags me out the car. He told me afterwards he saw my husband put the car in gear and thought he was going to drive off with me hanging out the car. My husband just left me. I was still only wearing a vest top and pajama shorts and my slippers as he'd wanted to rush out and do this. My phone was in his car and I didn't have any house keys. One of the workers took his jacket off and wrapped me up in that. They took me to a cabin that was their canteen and put the heater on and made me a cup of tea. I was so embarrassed. This lot had seen my boobs and then seen me getting abused and then fell out of a car and then rescued me all in the space of 30 seconds. I kept apologizing to them and said it was his idea, but they said it's okay and it happens a few times a day and they are used to it, but I think they were just trying to make me feel better. They were laughing and joking with me and were all so sweet and funny. They asked if I wanted to ring anyone, but I don't know anyone's number apart from work, and I didn't want them picking me up wearing next to nothing from a building site. I asked if I could just ring a taxi, but they said I can't get in a taxi dressed how I am. The man I'm assuming was their team leader told one of them to drive me wherever I wanted to go, so I asked if I could go to my mom's about 5 miles away. They gave me some spare work boots to walk across the mud to the van, and 2 of them drove me to my mom's, and they were really sweet and making sure I was okay, and even walked me to the front door. When my mom answered, I was hysterical and crying, and they told her me and my husband had an argument, and he left me by the side of the road. My mom offered them a drink, and I tried to give them their coat and boots back, but they said it's okay. I told my mom we were driving to McDonald's and got in an argument. I didn't tell her about the pushing or anything. She drove me home and let me in with a spare key she has. I packed some things and went back to my mom's. My husband had been home as my phone was on the table. In the 5 days since, he's been ringing me non-stop saying he's sorry and he don't know what came over him. He said he heard someone shout, "Nice pair," and it made him angry. My friends are saying leave, his are obviously telling me to give him another chance. I'm 50-50, but if I do stay, I'm going to insist on couples counseling for us both and therapy either for him or both of us. He says he doesn't want to involve other people in the relationship. It feels silly to throw it all away over a few seconds of madness, and I should have just said no when he asked me to flash, as I know he's quite insecure. I was blinded by finally getting some S*X and attention from him and thought I could get more. I took the workers their jacket and boots back and also made them 2 cakes and bought them 1,000 bags of Yorkshire tea as a thank you. Comments. I don't think any relationship advice will do anything to help your situation. Nor will couples counseling. This is definitely the sort of situation where couples counseling will only escalate problematic/abusive behavior. What you need, quite frankly, is a divorce lawyer. OOP. That's the thought that's becoming more prevalent in my mind. I took pics of the bruises and scuffs on my arms and legs afterwards, and I keep looking at them and thinking, what would I say to anyone else who's shown me them? You sound codependent on him and do everything he tells you to do to please him because you are terrified that he will leave you. Now you are in a situation where you did what he told you to do, but he ditched you anyway. He left you on the side of road to the mercy of strangers that you just flashed with nothing on you. That was very dangerous, and it makes me question if he wanted something to happen to you. This relationship isn't safe for you anymore, and that probably for some time. He's abusive. He doesn't want to do couples counseling because he knows what they would tell you. It isn't wise to do that with him anyway, because all that therapy is going to teach him are more weak points of you to take advantage of. Look for therapy for yourself. You know that he doesn't love you. That's why you accept all these behaviors of him. You can't make him love you by accepting his disrespect. You need to leave. It won't get better, it will get worse. Update. Something happened last week and I've decided I don't want to be with him anymore. It did involve physical abuse, and I have photos and witnesses, but I don't want to go down the route of involving the police. I bought the house in 2012. It's in my name. He moved in 2015. I've always paid the mortgage as he said he wasn't putting money into something he doesn't own, which is fair enough. We split all other bills 50-50ths. Any house modifications I have are for with proof, but maintenance on the house we split 50-50ths. I will eventually talk to a solicitor, but I just wanted to know exactly where I stand before doing so. Google doesn't really help, as some places say he has a right to half, others say he doesn't as it predates the marriage. No prenup or anything was ever signed. Comments. Without involving the police, you're in for a long fight. The police are your best bet. The police can only remove him for about 28 days because that's all they can bail for. An occupation order is a better bet to get him out. Update. 21 days later. I took people's advice on the sub and a couple of others and rang the police to report the attack. I spoke to the workers beforehand who said they'd back me up. They arrested my husband and then released him on bail, but told him he couldn't stay at my house, so he's gone to his mom's. After the argument, he told all our friends that I had cheated. I hadn't wanted to admit to people that I had flashed, but I felt like the tide was really turning against me and a lot of people were believing his lies, so I wrote a long message with a description of exactly what happened, plus pictures of my injuries including scrapes and bruises, plus screenshots of messages he sent admitting he asked me to flash and admitting he hit me, although he did blame me, saying if I just got out like he asked he wouldn't have had to do that. A few people apologized, most didn't, but I don't care anymore. I'm back home and he have to answer bail in a couple of months. The police don't sound confident they can get a conviction, but maybe that's how they are supposed to sound. I've spoke a little bit to a lawyer, but I can't really afford anything at the minute in that way. Been a sad few weeks, but an eye-opener, and I don't feel any guilt for getting the police involved or telling people what happened. Just working and keeping myself busy at the moment.